Hey guys, welcome back to another special episode where I have got Alex Chitu. Got that right, didn't I? I got that right.
Yes.
Yes.
You're the first person to get it right.
Only took a couple of practices, but we got there. We've got Alex Chitu, the top 4 player in the Bologna. I tell you what, I got your name right. I can't pronounce. Is it Bologna? I don't know.
I think it's Bologna.
Bologna. That might make sense. The Italian battle hardened that Alex went to. You got to the semi-finals with none other than Viserai, the boy, the man. Bro, how was the Italian battle hardened?
It was super awesome, dude. I must say. So there was a few of us actually coming from over from the UK. I met up with them just as we were starting the event. So I think Jacob was there. I think you did a video with him recently.
Jacob Hand?
Clements.
Oh, Jacob Clements. He went. Oh, nice.
Yeah. He was actually playing, I think.
I didn't know.
Yeah. And he was playing in this 5 deck. And there were a couple other UK players coming as well. So we got to catch up. But
nice.
It was super fun. The event was really nice. I got to meet some really nice people there, play some really nice games. But yeah, I did not expect to do as well as I did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just I've been sticking with Viserai for basically since nationals. I also did pretty okay at nationals with him, but
you did.
Yeah, but I'm just the sort of person that just goes with a hero, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, I will go for a hero that's at least playable, right?
Yeah.
But if that's at least the case, I will just try to make it as good as possible.
I'm with you on that. I think I wholeheartedly with you in that sort of mindset and that approach, because I feel I'm very much the same. I'll grab the hero and I'll just make the hero, like you said, gotta be playable, but I'm gonna make this hero as best as I can make it. In any you're not out to be the meta, just get the guy to challenge the meta as best as you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So let's go through then. So you've how many doing the Swiss rounds? I know that with how many people was there? Was it like 200?
It was more like 170, I believe.
Oh, okay. So
something like that.
But still, that's a lot of people, right? And there's only a top 8, so you can't really lose a game in the earlier rounds. So whereabout? I heard that you did when you said in, because you're also one of our push point patrons, which is awesome as well. But you were saying in the Patreon that you lost a round somewhere. What round was that?
It was actually my very first round that I lost.
Well, there you go, everyone. That just blows out my theory out of the water. I thought that was actually, if you lose round 1, you're kind of out, right? But obviously not.
Some of the battle hardens with fewer rounds, that used to be the case, but this one had 8 rounds, which meant that you could lose 1 and be locked still. Basically.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's fair enough. That's another time for another topic on battle hardens. But you lost your first round against.
I lost against an old him.
I didn't know you were going to say that.
Yes. And it's very funny because I later beat an old him in the Swiss.
Right.
But the reason that I beat that old him is because I made a crucial change to what I think the sideboard should be.
Okay, fair enough.
We can look at.
Yeah, when we get into the sideboard, we can break that down. So, in short, you learn from that old him first round, right? Okay, I need to make some adjustment.
Yes.
Okay, and obviously it paid off. So
I think so. I mean, hindsight.
And it also, I suppose, really, when it comes to games, it's moments, it's plays, it's there's so many other factors, but the changes makes you feel, or maybe this probably made a difference. I remember doing that, making some changes, and then you think, yeah, I think this made a difference, and then you go like, don't really remember actually seeing the cards I probably put in, but you know, at the end of the day, it tends to be just the old Mordred Tide, Revels, and Skies with an attack, right? You know, very difficult to stop that large number of arcane damage coming through. They usually 9 times out of 10. How did you win the game? Well, absolutely pummeled them with loads of arcane damage.
It involved rune chants one way or the other.
Exactly. So let's go through this. We've got you've got your Aether Ironweave, Crown of Providence, Scratch of the Art Knight, and Spellbound Creepers with the old classic weapon of Rosetta Thorn. This is what probably would be the cookie cutter standard Viserai weapons and equipment. There's been, I mean, I've done a couple of videos. There's definitely plenty of videos out there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's anything more you want to add to it. It's pretty much what he would take in this matter.
Yeah, it's basically the only things that worth mentioning just real quick. Some people swear by Tunic. Some people go with Ironweave. Personally, I like Ironweave more just because in aggressive matchups, you end up needing the 2 resources for things like Rattlebones.
The 1 block is, you know, pretty crucial. And I know that the Spring Tunic gives you the 1 block, but we can go. We'll go through your point as well. But yeah, there's definitely a good long debate on Tunic versus Ironweave. But I'm with you on the Ironweave front. In terms of that's the one that you tend to really lean on. The equipment is pretty solid. So let's go through your deck. Now we've had Dynasty that's brought us quite a few. When I say quite a few, I probably would say realistically, in my opinion, I don't know if you've seen anything else differently. The Deathly Duet was definitely a card that I saw and I didn't see. I thought this came out of literally nowhere because there was no spoil for this card. It just people just showed me it in the pack, and I looked at that and was like, "Bro, that's actually a pretty good common. That's a pretty good common. It's not like I don't know about you. It's not the best card you've got, but it's pretty solid.
I think it's the best card in this Dynasty.
Yeah, it's definitely the best card in Dynasty. But out of your if you looked at the rest of your cards, you're still like,
yeah,
it's not an auto replace straight up. You know, it still has to. It's still one of the cards that has to be, questioned. Do I need to have this? But the blue one definitely. I feel, yeah, that's solid.
Yeah, I agree.
And Looming Doom as well was probably the other one that came to mind. But I think that one's, some people have opinions on. Definitely Duet. You went.
Yeah, I would say I was playing around with Looming Doom. I think there's something to be said about that card, but it's not in this list.
I remember whipping it in as well, just because Blue Block 3 for mostly there was like the selling point, and then the when the stars align moments, when you go, could do it, when I'm just about to swing with a Revel, and then I swing, and I could probably play Looming Doom on the stack with a spell, the dream.
Yeah, the dream.
But mostly it's a blue block 3. But anyway, definitely Duet. The blues totally get. You got 3 blues in there. The 3 reds really interested me. What made you decide to go with the 3 reds?
So if you look at the totality of this list, some people classify this list a little bit and they say, oh, this is a 2-cost list. This is a 1-cost list.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And normally what they mean by 2-cost list is the attacks cost 2, usually. Or the majority of the attacks cost 2.
Yeah.
And for the 1-cost list, majority or like about half, let's say, of the attacks cost 1.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why you would sometimes play a 1-cost list is it's better against the tax that comes with ice. So, but personally, I don't really like that. I don't think like the raw power that of a 2-cost list it can be emulated with 1-cost attacks, just because you don't get as much reach with your Mavrian Skies, right? And if you look at my list for nationals, for example, it was quite similar. At least the core cards were quite similar to this list.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I was playing different in the attack slot, in the attack without go against slot, was Spellblade Strike.
The 1 cost, 1 for 4, make 1 read. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the only reason I was playing that card is because there was no more 2 costs.
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
I was already playing all the 2 costs that I could. And I just think Deathly Duet is nothing special about it, but you're just really looking for another 2-cost attack to make your turns even more consistent. Because one thing that I get a lot sometimes when I beat someone with Viserai, like really dominatingly, is they go like, "You never break. You are so lucky. How do you ever do this?" Like, and I'm like, well, I built my deck specifically to be a bit less explosive but more consistent, right?
Yeah.
And this card contributes towards that.
No, that's yeah, it's a solid breakdown as to why. It feels like it's doing it's kind of like a shrill and a Spellblade assault. Like, it could just go, which one am I? Which one am I gonna do? And you kind of like both of them. That's the thing. That's the beauty of the card, isn't it? It's like even the blue version could just be a red Spellblade assault. It could be a red Spellblade assault, or just another Spellblade assault. In its worst version of it. That's what I think. I like the flexibility what that card can offer. The only thing I can imagine sometimes with Deathly Duet is that you can mitigate you can mitigate it down a bit, but there's sometimes you don't really have the choice of what you're going to do. You know what I mean? Sometimes you do go,
yes.
I guess my blue it's a non-attack action card, so I would have really liked it if it was an attack action card this time around. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you go, it would have been good if this was a 6, but I'll take it.
Yeah. Most of the time, you will not get the choice.
Yeah.
Because it would just mean that you had an extra blue.
Yeah.
And usually if you have an extra blue, it means it's like a blue Moravian Skies with Trugan Arsenal, something like that.
Absolutely. So the Moravian Skies, you got the full rainbow package. Obviously, that is the way that the standard Viserai lists like to go. I mean, there really much comment on the skies, and I will throw in the lead the chat. Gets in the same boat.
Yeah, it's just you need it for consistency. Everyone knows this. Most turns that don't contain one of those cards are not turns at all. So
pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So
and Mordred Tide, man. Mordred Tide is Mordred Tide. It's the reason Viserai gets to the disgusting numbers of rune chance and does disgusting amount of damage. Now, here's some of the little small details. 3 Rattlebone intrigued me.
Yeah, so I used to play 3 Rattlebones even in my nationals list.
Okay.
I just think this card is very, very versatile.
Yes.
And quite strong. To be fair, I don't actually play the both 3 most times. So this is one card that, because when starting as Viserai, what you do, you take 1 Reader from your sideboard, and you put it in your deck so that you can search it with Become the Arcanite, right?
Yeah.
So you need to replace it with 1 card, and usually Rattlebones is that card in aggro matchups. So realistically, some of the time I played 2, some of the time I'm playing 3, but it's just a non-attack that fits that bill of sometimes turning a non-turn into a turn.
Yeah.
Under certain conditions, right? And in the conditions where it doesn't, as opposed to things like Moravian Skies, it actually blocks 3.
Yeah, that's it's kind of its saving grace, isn't it? That it blocks 3, but it is one of those cards, and this is probably why I didn't run 3. I had a point where I was like, I can't run 3, I'll run 2, and then drop 2 to 1, and then you're like, okay. But the saving grace of this card is that it blocks 3, because in its opening hand, Rattlebones is like do not want to see a Rattlebones opening
It's
hand.
not good in opening hand. What I will say about it also in more aggressive matchups, so this deck doesn't use Aetherine Reeve in the ways that one cost lists do, where you like make crazy extender turns. So in a normal turn where you go like Moblin Skies, 2-cost attack, and you have a 4th card, you could break your Aetherine Weave, play your Rattlebones here, and just get a Swarming and not care about the extra action point, and just take your Swarming becoming your Rattlebones becoming a Swarming +1 damage off the Aetherine Weave.
Yeah.
And you just move on.
Yeah, no,
It's
yeah.
not great, but it's, you know.
I think that most of the time the Rattlebones, I agree that the Aether Iron Weave is basically just as action. You can play your Rattlebones.
Yeah,
It feels
sometimes
like
that's
yeah,
fine.
it feels like that most of the time, but not completely, but a lot of the time you go, yeah, right, okay, I guess I can play my Rattlebones. So yeah, all right, but you went for you went for 3. You normally drop it down to 2 to put in the read the runes in, but when would you put 3 in? Who would you put 3 in against? Like,
so most of the matchups where you play Tunic, is also the kind of matchups that Rattlebones is good in.
Yeah,
because the games go longer. You need to block usually for some reasons. For one reason or another, you need to block a lot. So you might end up with 2-card hands, and then Rattlebone shines.
Yeah.
Because it's the only 2-card hand kind of that Vis has that's good.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Revel in Runeblood. Yeah. It's like Mordred Tide, right?
Yeah.
Cards
Exactly.
Card's pretty broken.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone knows it.
Everyone knows it. A lot the 3 rune flashes I get, right? And imagine you went down the route of rune flash because you are a deck that generates a fair amount of rune chants now, with the Deathly Duet and the Spellblade Assaults being kind of your core package of cards to be able to really extend the turn. So rune flash can actually now effectively start coming in for 0. Like, yeah, I imagine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's even closer to a Storming Gloomville now.
Yes. So I would like to ask the question of, this is another thing that some people have a debate on or not, and I am one of those people about meet and greet. So I like meet and greet. I would love to hear your opinion on what you think about meet and greet.
Yeah, I've had people when they see this list also ask about meet and greet, and the thing is, I do like meet and greet, but in this style of list, where basically every single attack that I have is 2-cost, or 3-cost, or 0-cost, it doesn't really fit in a turn without me spending a lot of resources which I would rather not spend. So if I have a normal Moblin Skies 2-cost attack, pitch a blue turn, where that's the 4th card, I need to come up with that extra resource, because meet and greet costs 1 from somewhere. Now that might be, let's say, the Iron Weave, because the thing is, into aggressive matchup, you play at the Iron Weave. You don't play the Tunic, because you're not gonna get much value from the Tunic. So the only way you are coming up with that other resource is you are using your Iron Weave. But obviously it's a bit inefficient because you're not using both resources. You're using just one, and that's your Iron Weave gone. And maybe you have 2 more meet and greets in your deck. Obviously, you could have turns which contain 2 or 3 meet and greets, but at that point, that's not so likely. The way that meet and greet shines is if you have other attacks that cost 1 to make that sort of turn better, where you are giving the 1-cost attack go again, then you are playing meet and greet, then you are Rosetta.
Yeah.
And that fits your curve better.
No, I totally agree. I think that you've got this. There was definitely a when I was playing Viserai that I was trying to really maximize, trying to have more opportunities to go explosive, go wide turns. here's a 1 cost followed up by a meet and greet, followed up by a swarming gloom veils, followed up by, you know, you think Jesus has 4 got, you know, 4 attack turn, which is pretty insane for Viserai, and it's actually incredibly difficult to deal with. And then there was like a where I remember Pablo took Viserai into Pro Tour and got him into top 8, and it's like Viserai turned into this more consistency thing of where it's all about the shrills, it's all about just do the basic line of his skies, shrill, attack with weapon. It's really consistent. And I like what
Yeah,
you've
definitely. My nationals list was definitely quite inspired by Pablo's list from the Pro Tour back then,
This
which
one
was
seems to be fusing both of these elements a little bit more now, because he never really ran any meet and greets or room flashes, which I personally thought was a bit of a shame. I don't know if I wouldn't say mistake. I'd say I think there's like this big explosion that can definitely win you the game. And seeing this, it seems like you're now fusing those two things together a bit more now. You still got this level of consistency, but you've now, because of probably definitely duet, room flash is now having more of a place to just, hey, I can kind of do a bit of both, right? You know, I've got this explosive turn and the consistency side of things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. So that explains the 9 copies of Shrill of Skullform. You know, I totally get the yellow. I think everyone ran the blues. Obviously, blues are so bloody good. The reds, amazing value, and then there was this bit of a, I suppose, really, do you run the yellow shrills? But yeah, great value, especially I can see in this list.
Yeah, especially the thing with the 6s is some people don't like the 6s because they're not a breakpoint, right? But if you play against someone like Phi, let's say, they really are a breakpoint, because not all of their cards, most of their cards don't block for 3, right? So
and then you're kind of, a lot of the time as well, their free cost cards tends to be the cards that they really kind of do want to maybe keep, you know, or I know what you mean. The two block ones are strong, but the 3 block cards, at the end of the day, they don't really want to bloody block. So taking 6 to the face with the skies on the board is not fun.
Exactly.
So now we're going to move on to your Sonata Arcanex, another card that is definitely in contention. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like I've been out of the game. I played a couple of games of Bolton. Maybe I'm out of the game now. But I remember Sonata Arcanex being kind of just had slowly but surely pushed to the sidelines of, we don't probably need this card anymore, even though this card is bloody good. There's, you know, 0 cost, go again, non-attack action, can potentially just draw you fix your hand, completely just fix your entire turn and take 1 arcane damage for the pleasure of it. You know, and it works a lot with creepers and everything. But I suppose the more Viserai started to have a bit more adventure action, started to get laced into a bit more. More you're just removing the non-attack actions and the attack action side. This card got more and more difficult to want to include into it. But in this case, not for you.
Yeah, so I will say as well, it's not the best card in the deck. In fact, it's probably the 57th through the 60th card in the deck. If I were to be honest, it was just I needed another non-attack. Not necessarily another non-attack, but just another card to add. And I realized that just naturally my deck had a split of non-attacks and attacks. So the reason why I think it's still a very good card is the way I look at this card is just mathematically. Okay, so what's the likelihood with a 30-30 split, right? So everyone knows this is 75% that you hit an attack, right? So 75% of the time, you are adding at least 2 damage to your turn for 0 cards, right?
Right.
And the average card in your deck, let's say, is worth 4 damage, right?
Yeah.
So you have to consider also the fact that you might be playing it on a mordred turn. So it's a bit more. So let's say So adding 2 to the average 4, that's 6, plus let's say 0.25 for the fact that you might get 2 rune chance when you get the Mordetite. So that's 6.25 times 75% plus the 25% times what you get when it misses, right? And when it misses, you get 1 or a bit more than 1 because sometimes you murdered it, right?
Yeah.
So 1.25. And if you put that in a calculator, you end up with 5. Right. So that's the average return value of Sonata. And what else is 5 in your turn? Storming Gloomveil, Reverend Runeblood, Rune Flash. That's all your power cards, right?
Yeah. Okay. No, I mean, you probably all.
I mean, it's
saw
simplistic.
My head just go. I know you say simplistic. I never actually look. You see, it's very. It's another interesting thing for another time, I'm sure. But how people look at these things, like you clearly are a man of maths. You look at things, break down the numbers, right? I don't. I go by feeling. I go by the feel of the card. You know, when I'm playing it, does it feel consistent? Does it, you know? And in the end, we're kind of, you know, in a different journey. I haven't got the maths. I can't show you my theory, but I've got the answer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This game is a combination of the two, right? It's feeling and maths.
Yeah. It felt
and they both
it feels
come
good when it
together.
works. But yeah, it's just strong. And you've explained why it is. And you explain why it is. But I mean, why would you not put this card in your deck with that sort of why was this card the 57, 58, you know, with that sort of reasoning?
Because the 25% of the times when it misses, you might already be winning the game, and now suddenly you are losing the game because it missed, right?
Mm.
But I just don't think that it's that bad, because you can sort of mitigate it. You can, if you are so far ahead, you can even just block with it and say, okay, I'm just taking my 2 block out of it and moving on with my life.
Yeah. I think I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But in the interest of your time, we'll move on.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Sonata Arcanex, it's got in there. Spellblader Assault, red and blue. Yeah, obviously, I think as well. That's very much in the definitely duet world. Swarming Gloomveil. It is Mordred Tide and Reveling Runeblood levels of very, very good. You should always put this card into your deck. Would you agree?
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
So your blues become the Art Knight. It's tutor card, clearly. So strong. Find any card you want. Lead the Charge fits in with the moving skies. Is that about right?
Yeah, basically.
Pretty much.
It's just the worst version.
Yeah. Now Amplify the Art Knight. Amplify the Art Knight. I'm intrigued. Why have you not gone for the swarming for the Vexing Malice? Vexing Malice wins you the game.
So yes, it can win you the game.
Go.
But I don't think it wins you the game enough to warrant not putting such a good card as Amplify the Arcanite in your deck.
Yeah.
With Amplify, you can do crazy stuff.
I know.
I don't know why more people don't put this card in their deck, because it's a blue that sometimes feels like a red, and that's what you want your blues to be. Cards that sometimes they're not good to play, so you pitch them, and sometimes they're really good to play, so you play them.
I think with your deck style, this definitely feels like it makes a hell of a lot more sense, because you've kind of increased the amount of like Spellblade assaults that you've put into the deck, and it kind of now feels like this is actually becoming a lot more cost. But like, if you're going to be getting really good value out of your flashes, there's no real reason why this card should be considered as part of that, you know, package of. It's working really well for Flash. Surely Amplify the Art Knight is working out really well. So yeah, no, I totally 100% agree.
Talking about meet and greet, this is meet and greet, but it's blue.
Yeah.
Because what you can do is you go like, you play a Revel as an instant with boots.
Yeah.
And then you amplify the Arcanite. And you've just built your own meet and greet.
Yeah, there you go. Now, I will move on to the Over the Art Knight, right? Okay, I am going to say this now. This could have been Vexing Malice, but Over the Art Knight, I do like this card. I'm really excited that you've put it in. Why did you put it in?
So first of all, it cannot be maximalized because it's a non-attack, and I need a non-attack for Sonata, right?
Okay, so this was your.
So the
ratio.
question is this slot filled with Oath or another non-attack blue, right? I think it's a pretty good card. Sometimes it bails you out. It's definitely not a great blue. I mean, it's sometimes the only reasons where it's good is one where you have something like 3 extenders and a blue and this, and you just need something to get the turn started. So like, let's say Oath, a blue, and then some like Swarming Revel, right?
Yeah.
There are situations like Mordred, play Oath, pitch a blue, play Room Flash. That's a 4-card hand.
Yeah. And
not bad.
I mean, that's not that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Room Flash for 5.
Yeah. But realistically, you could. So there's this runs on me in the sideboard. You could just put that one in the main and move the Oath to the sideboard and replace it with some other better blue that works better into matchups where we want more blues. I'm not so sure about this one actually.
Yeah,
so,
it's what, but I know what you mean. When from looking at this is the card now where it does answer the core question of it is a blue. It blocks with 3, and it slots into the either non-attack or attack action card. But in your case, you needed a non-attack action card that is blue. So this one definitely gets looked into. You can have a play around. Is that fair to say that this is one of those cards that as long as it fits the blue, block 3, non-attack, play around with all the other ones and see what you find.
Exactly.
I mean, even Christ, if you don't happen to have this, you can come to fight. I imagine, cheaper maybe, but it could probably fit into a cost curve somewhere. But you just don't have them for some reason.
For some reason.
For some reason. All right, now we're going to move on to the sideboard, and I know time is precious, so we'll start off very quickly with the Sink Blows. They come in for.
So it's Bravo and Dory. That's the only matchups where we care.
This round's
because,
on me.
So that's just fine, Katsu. And there are matchups where you want more blues, such as Icelander and Kano. Also, into fatigue matchups where you might want to increase the amount of cards in your deck. Putting this rounds on me as well as a blue helps you maintain the same cost pitch curve.
Yes.
Throughout your deck as the amount of cards in your deck increases.
Real. Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm skipping around it now, but Read the Runes. Clearly, that's why everyone's here for Read the Runes. You've got 3 copies of Read the Runes. That's going in for
just all them and Arachne. It's just fatigue matchups.
Pummel, man.
So you want? Oh yeah.
We're gonna go for it. Pummel. You got 3 copies of Pummel. Why? Pummel in your deck.
Okay, so this one requires a bit of like explanation. So a bit of a story. So
explain yourself.
Basically, since Nationals, I was a bit obsessed with trying to find a way to make the Icelander matchup not so bad. And I basically tried everything under the sun. I've tried Diabolic Ultimatum, making my entire sideboard fatigue into Icelander, destroy all this stuff. That doesn't really work. I've tried Oasis Respites. I've tried more blues. I've tried everything. And against good Icelander players, just nothing works. Their stuff is just so good at shutting everything you do down if you're a 2-cost list, because you cannot pay through the Frostbite most of the time, right? And I was on the flight to Bologna, and I just started thinking about it again, right? And the entire flight, I thought about this. Like, what is it about the Icelander matchup that is so bad for Viserai, right? There's the obvious, which is you cannot pay through the Frostbite unless you have the Tunic counter, because everything you do is exact cost. But the other reason why Icelander is such a bad matchup, particularly into good players, is that in order for you to present any sort of damage as Viserai, on most turns, you need to spend 3 cards. The Moblin Skies, the 2-cost attack, and the pitch card. At the point where you played those 3 cards, you have not yet dealt any damage. So on a turn such as the last turn of the game where Icelander might want to go off, the fact that you're not threatening any sort of damage is quite bad because they can just wait for you to do your thing.
Yeah.
And you just go, they just crack their Storm Striders, kill you. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, then I thought, okay, so then what are proactive ways, not reactive ways, because the Diabolic Ultimate, Moises Response, they are reactive ways. But we are not a reactive deck. We are proactive deck, right?
Yeah.
So then I realized, wait a minute, like my entire deck is 2 cost and 3 costs. And an interesting thing about Pummel, particularly the Dream Pummel turn, which is Moblin Skies, 2-cost attack, blue pitch, and then you have another Pummel and a blue pitch, right? Where you pummel the 2-cost attack and then you Rosetta as well.
Yeah, that's
a very interesting thing about this kind of turn is that it leaves 1 resource floating at the end of it.
Because at the end of it, you'll be you still have to pay through the frostbite and everything, and it leaves you.
What I'm saying is the pummel and the 2 cost, 2 plus 2 equals 4.
Yeah.
Rosetta costs 1, 5.
Yeah.
And you have 2 blues. So that's 6 minus 5 is 1.
Yeah.
So you still have 1 floating. And that floating helps you pay through all of the tax of all the ice heroes.
There you go. And you get to pummel them and make them all cry.
Exactly.
You will land that Meridian Skies hit, and it will be that devastating, and they will lose a card as well. It's just
yeah. I'll tell you. When I was doing that in the tournament, when I had spectators, they would all go like, "Ooh."
Man, I don't know how happy I am to see Pummel arrive, and when you explain it and you break it down, it makes total sense, right? Especially with this style of deck, and it's actually just galvanized my excitement to just give this a go. I mean, how well has include? So I imagine you included the pummels for the ice heroes specifically. So, how much of a difference did that make?
Personally, I think huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I only played. So I played against 2 old teams in the Swiss, 2 Icelanders in the Swiss, and another old team and an Icelander in the top 8. Against the Icelanders were very good, I think. So initially in my first old team, I didn't play the pummels because they were just initially I just thought I would add them for Icelander. But into old team, I realized some of the old teams will try to fatigue you, right?
Yeah.
And well, an attack reactions that they're not expecting is sort of unpreventable damage because unless they had a defense reaction up, which can happen, but
yeah,
a lot of the time, an old team that has defense reactions will try to use their attack defense reactions just to perfectly block your attack, unless they already know about the pummel, which
it's interesting because when there's turns I can imagine where they would, if you had, I don't know, I am creating a scenario in my head here where you could have had a pummel into Arsenal, right? And then they'll probably just do this, I'll block up and then they'll ice rat you. Go, okay, cool. A pummel out of Arsenal. Yeah. And they go, oh no. I tried to completely shut down the turn, and you're just like, you're in so much trouble now. That is a painted scenario, but not an unrealistic one,
Yeah. So yeah. So looking back at the pummel turn, the perfect pummel turn, the perfect pummel turn is not only immune to the ice react, it's also immune to stalagmite
Oh,
because you're floating one.
yeah. And then they're just gonna
Uh,
go, oh yeah, oh, I'm gonna shut down your turn. No, you're not.
exactly.
And then just all hell breaks loose. Oh, bro, I'm so happy to see the pummel arrive into Viserai. And I generally feel that people will definitely just give this a run around going forward. Especially with all these ice heroes currently running around at the minute. It seems like a really, really, really good include to add into the deck. Now, I think what I'm going to do now, I'm going to we'll do our final closes here. But have you got a? I'm going to link the deck in the description below. Is there a deck guide that you've put into this, or is there just anything you've added in?
I put the sideboard guide into it, so
Fantastic. So
people can have a look and see exactly with what matchups, what cards go
yeah,
into
absolutely.
them.
Have a play around with it as well. You know, I always say this with everyone that has tries out any of the decks from just have a play around, see. And there's no you got a pretty solid core here. There's potential to have a play around with the cards. I know that I'm definitely going to have a go with this deck now on Talashar because this is really 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 cool. But is there any closing notes that you would like to say?
No, just that I'm a big fan of the podcast, and you guys should keep it up.
Cheers. Is there any shout outs or thanks on your side? Testing teams, anyone?
Oh yeah. Basically everyone that plays at the Dice Saloon down in Brighton, they're super cool guys, and I go there almost every week to play with them, and some of them have been helping me out with testing and stuff like that, especially Icelander players.
They're wonderful people, aren't they? Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Alex, for jumping on, and like and subscribe, everybody. Go check out the deck list. Go have a play around with it, and catch you in the next one. Cheers, Alex.
Cheers.